But first, here at 6 o'clock, 17 News is your local election headquarters, and there is a big fight brewing tonight over a major ballot measure that would make it tougher for local and state governments to raise taxes. Today, the California Supreme Court officially took up a Gavin Newsom-backed lawsuit calling on justices to remove the measure from the ballot. Our Capitol correspondent Eitan Wallace shares what happened in the courtroom and has reaction tonight from supporters and opponents.
Meeting in San Francisco, justices on the California Supreme Court heard arguments supporting and opposing the Taxpayer Protection and Government Accountability Act, or TPA. They specifically must decide whether to take it off the November ballot. The proposed measure already qualified for the upcoming November ballot with more than 1 million signatures turned in. Supporters note if passed, the measure would require voters to approve every new state tax increase or new state fee proposed by the state legislature or local governments. It would also change the voter threshold for local citizen-run tax initiatives from a simple majority to at least 2/3 majority needed to pass. But Governor Gavin Newsom and Democratic members of the legislature say the measure is illegal because they believe it would significantly revise the California state constitution. It would prevent government from doing its job. That's why Newsom says he filed a lawsuit asking the California Supreme Court to consider removing the measure from the November 2024 ballot. Attorney Margaret Prinzing represented the governor during oral arguments at the High Court.
If taxing decisions were subject to voter approval, then it might become impossible, and it would certainly be delayed for the legislature to try and pass a balanced budget or raise revenues that are necessary.
On the other side, attorney Thomas Hiltack represented the measure's proponents, including the Howard Jarvis Taxpayers Association. They want the measure to remain on the ballot.
Our Constitution, since its inception, has stated that all political power is inherent in the people. And what TPA does is restore not only the people's power to have a check and balance on that, but to require the legislature to be part of that process. That's accountability.
Assembly Speaker Robert Rivas and former Senate President pro tempore Tony Atkins signed on to the lawsuit, urging the court to strip the measure from the ballot. They wrote the amount of harm this measure could cause is vast and would hamper local government and our state's ability to function. But Republican Assembly Minority Leader James Gallagher disagrees. He says the governor is trying to take away the voters' ability to decide for themselves.
He's fine with taking away your right to vote on the ballot in November. So look, I think people see the hypocrisy and they're just not buying his bull anymore.
Now the ball is in the court of the 7 justices on the state Supreme Court. Among their options,
they could strike it from the ballot, which means it would not go before the voters in November, or they could do some variation, allow it to go to the people for a vote on November 5th, but maybe take one or more provisions out. Yes, this is a precedent-setting case, however they decide it.
And the court is expected to make a final ruling by late June. Reporting in Sacramento, Eitan Wallace, 17 News.